Well, good evening and welcome to the 29th Space Symposium's final event, the 25th Anniversary Space Technology Hall of Fame Dinner. This has been a really interesting and most wonderful week. And I want to thank all of you who have played such an important role in getting us off to a great start, keeping us high and busy and excited all week, and arriving at the Space Technology Hall of Fame dinner feeling pretty darn good about another wonderful week at the Broadmoor. Thank you so much for all you've done for us. Now, the Broadmoor has always been a terrific partner, and tonight is no exception. In fact, they've been terrific partners all week long. I don't know how you do venison for, this many people and get it out there on the table and make it correct. But how about one last sign of appreciation for all the support we've had from the Broadmoor this week. Now, the Broadmoor has also done us another favor, and I'm not sure that it was their intent. But due to some improvements that are going to be starting on Monday after we've left, we are going to be moving this event into May next year. It'll be May 19th to 20th. Yeah, all you golfers, all you tennis players. I'll have you know that while it is less likely to snow in May, it is still entirely possible. But they're doing some really neat improvements. They're going to be renovating the west side of the hotel and bringing it up to the same great standards as the rest of the property. And so we'll look forward to being the first to be able to take advantage of that and show that off to everyone next May. I would also like to thank, before we wrap up our events this week, our great friends at Air Force Space Command. General Willie Shelton, General John Hyten. You and your team has been spectacular. We owe you so much, and we appreciate you so much, sir. Thank you. I'd also like to thank our international friends. We have so many people who have come from so much further away than Washington, D.C., and they have been so important to this event, and we have had such a great time. Let's give it up for our international friends. Now, to get us started, we're going to hear from our sponsors, our co-sponsors for this event. We have been very fortunate, very blessed to have a great relationship with SpaceX over the last several years. And I know you're all used to seeing Gwen Shotwell in her stiletto heels making her way up these stairs. And what I've told Adam Harris, the VP of Government Sales, is that he's got a big set of pumps to fill. Please welcome the Vice President of Government Sales for SpaceX, Adam Harris.
Thank you, Elliot. I've been told that I have the choice of being funny or brief. So let me be brief. Let's start with the video from SpaceX.
Falcon 9 rocket. And liftoff. Liftoff of the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket.
Houston, station on 2. Capture complete. Looks like we've tamed the Dragon. We're happy she's on board with us.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the 3,000 employees at SpaceX, let me welcome you to this evening's dinner. Last year at this conference, SpaceX was getting ready to launch our COTS demonstration, the first commercial mission in history to dock with the International Space Station. On May 22nd, we launched the Falcon 9 rocket, orbited the Dragon spacecraft, and completed the COTS demonstration. After COTS, we began the operational resupply missions, with one launch last October and a highly successful mission that we just completed. The most recent mission delivered 1,493 pounds of cargo to the space station. The Dragon spacecraft spent 3 weeks in orbit. Then we returned 3,256 pounds of cargo back to Earth, which included vital science experiments for NASA. We are extremely proud of the partnership we have formed with NASA, and we're proud to be part of such a spectacular program. If you have not heard, during this last launch, we had a valve issue in flight, and I want to take this opportunity to publicly thank the Air Force and the National Reconnaissance Office for supporting that mission team, working with their worldwide communications network. The Air Force and NRO helped turn what could have been a critical issue into what became a very successful result. You saw in the video that SpaceX also recently tested our Grasshopper test vehicle, doubling its highest leap to date. That 10-story vehicle is an entire first stage of vertical takeoff and landing test vehicle. It rose 24 stories, 80 meters, hovered for 34 seconds, and then used thrust vector and throttle control to land. Grasshopper is SpaceX's key technology towards one of our very key goals, which is developing fully and rapidly reusable rockets. A feat that we think will transform this space exploration by rapidly and radically reducing the cost of space transportation. With Grasshopper, SpaceX engineers are testing the technology that would enable a launched rocket to land intact rather than burning up on re-entry in Earth's atmosphere. Speaking of working with government agencies, let me also thank the Air Force for their support of competition and new entrants in the national security launch market. We are meeting ELV certification requirements, and quite frankly, we are looking forward to exceeding the Air Force's expectations. As we look to this next year, SpaceX will be flying commercial satellites. Since 1980, the United States has lost a lot of business to the international launch market. Elliot mentioned at the opening ceremonies that over the last year, the worldwide space business has been increasing, but that the U.S. space business is decreasing. SpaceX, we are going to continue to do our part to bring that market back to the United States and ensure that American capabilities continue to grow. I want to mention a couple logistics things about tonight's dinner. As in past year, instead of giving out table gifts, we have made a donation to the Air Force Aid Society. The Air Force Aid Society is the official charity of the United States Air Force. They provide direct assistance to Air Force members and families in the form of emergency assistance, education programs, and community enhancements. And since we didn't want to leave everybody empty-handed, if you look at your table placard on each one of the tables, one of you has a Dragon stamp. And down here to my right and your left, at the end of the dinner, you can get a model rocket to fly on your own that's a Falcon rocket. And and everybody's found their rocket. Excellent. I lost them all there. Thank you. Yeah. And then finally, because I'm just looking for a reason to get off the stage, that's a blatant applause line. Could I have you bring up the image that I gave you? So those are my two boys, 7 and 2.5. That was taken today in Fairfax, Virginia, and I'll tell you, this is why I'm in this business. I want my boys to grow up to a great space program, and I thank you for doing your part, and thank you to Elliot and this foundation. Thank you for attending the dinner with us tonight.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it.
You want me to hang here? Or?
That'll probably be easier, yeah, since you're coming back. I had an urgent call from Broadmoor Security. They wanted me to let you know that those rockets are not to be flown until after the dinner tonight. Adam, thank you so much for all that you and SpaceX do. We enjoy working with your team so much. And now, we come to the Space Technology Hall of Fame Awards. First, I want to thank a group of people who play a crucial part in helping to make this event possible. And I'm talking about the panel of judges who generously contribute their time and expertise to help us select our Space Technology Hall of Fame inductees. We try this every year, and we'll try again. I'm asking that you hold your applause till we've recognized all the judges. I'll give you a sign, okay? Our judges this year are Walter Peters, President of the International Space University. Andrea, see, there you go. And wouldn't you know it's the Germans? Walter Peters, President of the International Space University. Andrea Jaime, Executive Director, Space Generation Advisory Council. Okay, young, exuberant folks, go for it. Mary Ellen Weber, founder of Stellar Keynotes and Consulting and a former NASA astronaut. Steve Kenny, an associate with Toffler Associates. Amy Meinzer, PhD, research scientist at Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Rick Ambrose, Deputy Vice President, Lockheed Martin Space Systems. Chummer Farina, Vice President of the Canadian Space Agency, although I understand Chummer's got another job. We'll get that right and let everybody know. Michael Simpson, PhD, Executive Director, Secure World Foundation, yay Mike, and David Deegan, President and CEO, Advanced Flexible Materials, now. I'd also like to recognize a couple people in the audience. This is a little off script. But as you'll be hearing more, this is our 25th anniversary of the Space Technology Hall of Fame. The program was started by two visionary leaders, and we've been blessed in the foundation to have many visionary leaders. They were the then NASA Administrator Jim Fletcher and the then Executive Director of the Space Foundation, who is with us here tonight. He is now our President Emeritus, Dick McLeod. Dick, would you stand and be recognized? And as we transition from the past 25 years to the next 25 years, I think many of you have noticed that we have a beautiful, beautiful new medallion. I am so blessed to work with some of the most creative and talented people in the world that work for us at the foundation. And it's so wonderful to be able to take an art project like this and have somebody on our team be able to put together a design that will carry us well into the future. Would you please put your hands together for our designer, Amy Maroka. And tonight, we honor two outstanding new technologies. GATR, that's GATR, Portable Satellite Communications, and Mediphan, Distance Dock and Med Recorder, communications and medical diagnostic technologies that are already saving and improving lives on Earth. The following video will give us an overview of this venerable program, now in its 25th year, and will illustrate just why these two technologies are being inducted tonight.
A surprise shot came from nowhere. America's #1 adversary had launched a worrisome new threat. The space race was on, and we were way behind.
We had Sputnik, and the realization that somebody else was able to use their technology to get something in orbit, and we weren't yet, what came as a big shocker.
We were behind the Russians. Could they shoot down from space bombs and destroy us?
What emerged from the initial shock and awe was a bold, inspiring vision. America was going to land men on the moon and kick moon dust into Sputnik's face on the way back.
That's why we went to the moon. This conflict between these two superpowers that led to the extraordinary missions on the moon.
America had the motivation, will, and determination. Only one problem remained: how to do it.
We had no idea how to get to the moon. We had no idea how to talk to somebody when they were on the moon.
We had no idea what kind of propulsion we needed to get ourselves out of the Earth's atmosphere. We had to create those technologies to do that. So we had a mission to go do that.
Tens of thousands of engineers, mathematicians, scientists, and technologists answered the call to duty. Space exploration presented new technical challenges, demanded new material and skills, and a new examination of old ideas.
The integrated circuit sat on a shelf when it was first invented because it was not obvious what the needs were, what the uses were. It was John Kennedy saying we were going to the moon, and the satellite programs at the time, they needed tiny computers. And they invested in this discovery, and that's what really started the whole computer revolution. It was small computers to go into space that got it going, and it's changed our whole civilization.
Things that we did because we didn't know how to do them and just didn't know we couldn't do them in Apollo came and changed the way you and I live here on the ground today.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, Tranquility. We copy you.
The push into space pulled the world together. Yet the effort to make that giant leap for mankind had been reaping benefits and rewards back on Earth for many years. Space-age technologies percolated into all parts of everyday life. Big and small businesses alike were propelled to develop new products and processes demanded by space.
We don't spend any money in space. It's all spent here on Earth. It's jobs and it's people. And the people that have these jobs are creating technologies, and technologies are what drive the economies.
So that the spin-offs, whether direct or indirect, are enormous. There's huge numbers.
There's a million things
that have made life better on Earth because of
somebody doing something for the space program.
A lot of the technological achievements of the last 50 years are as a result of the money we spent trying to send people to the moon and send people out into space.
By the way, Velcro is not one of them, although a lot of people think it is. I also don't know any astronauts that like Tang.
When the Hubble telescope was first launched, there was a mistake. It had imaging problems. Well, it turns out the imaging problems that the Hubble telescope had were the same imaging problems that oncologists had with mammograms. And the fix for the Hubble's imaging program fixed mammograms. Somebody that you love is alive today, not because of a success, but because of a failure.
Well, the problem with the benefits is that it's so broad and so ingested into daily life that it's hard to explain everything. The shoes that I'm wearing have some space technology in them.
The scratch-proof coating on sunglasses.
The earphones that I wear have space technology in them. My kids' video games have space technology in it.
We talk about smartphones. They're only smart because we have the space program.
Crop monitoring, water management, environmental monitoring.
No matter what walk of life, you're going to be touched by space technology.
With the Space Foundation honoring space technologies, I think it goes a long way to highlighting for the public things that I think people take for granted.
Since 1988, Space Foundation has honored and highlighted 67 innovative technologies by inducting them into the Space Technology Hall of Fame. This year, we celebrate 25 years of the life-changing benefits and products that space has brought to us here on Earth. From consumer products and life-saving medical tools to advancements in energy, transportation, communication, safety, and science. Space Foundation honors the men and women who make our lives better, safer, healthier, and more rewarding by bringing space technology down to Earth and enriching life all over the planet. Tonight, we are honored to induct 2 new technologies and recognize the pioneering efforts of the people who made them happen. GATR Inflatable Satellite Communication System. A public-private partnership with NASA Glenn Research Center led to an extraordinary new product. Working to develop a solar concentrator for power generation, researchers realized that a variant of an inflatable prototype could be used for ground-based communications. The GATR communication system is a portable, rapidly deployed inflatable antenna that targets a geostationary satellite to establish critical, high-bandwidth satellite communications, even in the most remote regions of the world. Rugged, versatile, and compact enough to be checked as airline baggage, GATR has supported a range of international military, security, and humanitarian efforts across 6 continents. GATR now employs more than 40 people and has been listed for the past 4 years in Inc. magazine's list of the nation's fastest-growing private companies. GATR, another inspiring example of space technology benefiting life on Earth. Mediphan. Medical diagnosis is particularly challenging in space. Compact, low-power ultrasound promises to be the ideal tool for human space missions. In 2000, NASA Johnson Space Center approached Dr. Scott Dulchovsky of Henry Ford Hospital to develop remote diagnostic techniques aboard the International Space Station as the basis for mission telemedicine. Dr. Dulchovsky and his team used novel methods to teach astronauts to use remotely guided ultrasound to obtain diagnostic quality images and transmit them to experts on the ground. Inspired by this success, it was decided to apply the technique on Earth. Henry Ford Hospital, Wiley Engineers, and the newly formed computer imaging company Mediphan worked to develop 2 terrestrial telemedicine tools. Using established IT infrastructure, non-experts can install and use Mediphan technology to send medical images easily and reliably to distant experts. Streaming images over the internet allows access via desktop workstations and even smartphones, which holds particular promise for developing countries. Medical solutions created for spaceflight, bettering life on Earth. Tonight, we induct into the Space Technology Hall of Fame, GATR. Mediphan. For 25 years, Space Foundation has honored the men and women who bring the benefits of space exploration down to Earth for all mankind. Tonight, we ask you to join us as we applaud the newest members of the Space Technology Hall of Fame.
Pretty cool stuff. In recognition of their innovative efforts, the following organizations are officially inducted in the Space Technology Hall of Fame for 2013. Please come up as your name is called. For GATR, representing GATR Technologies, Paul Gurow, CEO and President. Representing NASA Glenn Research Center, Mark Polonsky of Barrios Technologies. And for Mediphan, Distance Dock and Med Recorder, representing Mediphan Technologies, Mike Sandler, Chief Executive Officer. Representing NASA Johnson Space Center, Leroy Chow, former astronaut and special consultant to Mediphan Technologies. Congratulations on your induction in the 2013 Space Technology Hall of Fame. Now, we held our private induction earlier this afternoon, where we gave special recognition to the individuals who played key roles in developing these great technologies. They are with us here tonight, showing off their shiny new medallions in the audience. Please stand when I mention your name so we can recognize you. For GATR, William Clayton, Robert Romanowski, Kevin Lambert, and Paul Girow. And for Mediphan, Scott Vilchowski, Mike Sandler, and Leroy Chow. Thank you all for all the tremendous, tremendous work that you do. Now, as we get ready to move into the next era of the Hall of Fame, I think we have another brief video to take a look at where we're going.
Who doesn't love a good space spinoff? I mean, I'd love him as much as the next guy. My home, in fact, I've got plenty. As good a reason as that is to embrace and appreciate space, I don't think it's the best reason. The best reason is when you innovate as you advance a space frontier, you create a culture of innovation in the nation that funds it. And so it has the power to infiltrate our capacity to dream and to imagine a future that's different from today, a future that's empowered by creative thinking in science, technology, engineering, and math, the STEM fields.
When you have sophisticated problems being solved by well-trained engineers and scientists in your society, your whole society is lifted. Your whole society benefits from having these people working on these problems. And this perspective, this cosmic perspective, affects everybody. It enriches you, and I hope it inspires you. Space exploration brings out the best in us.
From Indonesia to Afghanistan,
Japan and in Germany and in Brazil,
to France to Colombia.
Technology drives economics. The countries that invest in space exploration, they will run the world economies. They will be the powers of the world economies. So while we're cutting down, countries like India and China are continuing to increase because they see the value.
And when you talk to them, what really lights up their eyes are what space applications can do for life here on Earth. What they view space as an enabler to bridge the gap between developed and developing countries faster than ever before.
For decades, large, exciting government programs drove space exploration. Today, without such high-profile manned missions and without committed funding, our place in space is less certain. We have the vision, but do we have the will to push ahead?
There are a lot of reasons why people want to go into space. It's in our DNA. We're explorers. It's our destiny. Great nations do it. I claim that none of those reasons matter to the people who write the checks. One needs to demonstrate the value of investments in space as an economic driver. To convince people it's an economic driver, then the budget becomes investment rather than handout. And when it does, the nation thrives. We develop an innovation culture. It stimulates interest in the science and engineering fields. You don't have to create programs to excite children. They'll see the headlines every day and they want to become a part of that adventure.
It represents promise, and it's inspirational for them.
They then grow up, become scientists, engineers. They then innovate. And those innovations in the 21st century become the engines of tomorrow's economy.
The kids that we're educating now are the ones that are going to be taking those steps. The critical aspect, and the part that all of us are challenged to do, is to keep that spark alive, to try to find the things that capture their imagination.
You know, space and dinosaurs are the two triggers that can really turn on a young kid. And, you know, try as they might, they're not going to be dinosaurs. But they do have an opportunity to participate in space exploration.
I think kids have a lot of curiosity about different facets of science. These are their future workers, these future students that are excited about science.
And the more they experience now, the deeper their education will be for the future, the better prepared they will be for the real world.
Those of us in this room tonight have a mission to spread the word about how space benefits us all and help motivate and encourage students at all levels to learn about science.
Jeff Bezos, who is the founder of Amazon, said the thing that got him hooked on science was the space program when he was a young man. Not everybody who gets hooked by space will go into space, but they'll become the mathematicians, the scientists, the doctors, the architects who will do the great things for our nation. We must have a space program. More than anything else, that's the thing that gets kids hooked on space. We know it worked in the 50s and in the 60s. It can work again.
We hold the future in our hands. How we shape it is up to us.
Well, we honored two very special and outstanding technologies tonight. I'm mindful of the fact that everyone in this room, all of you, are involved in this innovation every day. It's what makes our industry so special. It makes our job at the Space Foundation so rewarding. So I want to thank all of you for what you do. And now for a special treat. You know, about 2 years ago, we had this crazy idea that we wanted to invite this humorist, P.J. O'Rourke, out to the Space Technology Hall of Fame dinner. How many of you were here that evening when P.J. delivered his remarkable rant? Well, what we didn't know was that P.J. was a lot more interested in this than we thought he was. And not only was he delighted to come out and share his thoughts on the political landscape with us, but he was very interested in what we were doing. And shortly thereafter, we were just delighted to welcome him onto the board of directors of the Space Foundation. And I can tell you, board meetings have been very different in the last couple of years. And we are so happy for it. Would you please welcome your host for the remainder of the program, Mr. P.J. O'Rourke.
Thank you. That's some pretty cool technology that we just saw. And of course, our thanks to everyone who helped develop it. And Elliot, I want to thank you too, because under your leadership, the Space Technology Hall of Fame it's come a long way. I checked our records. Back in 1996, the Space Technology Hall of Fame inducted anti-shock trousers. Anti-shock trousers. Anti-shock trousers. The zipper stayed up? I don't know what exactly they were, but we inducted them. Now, for our evening's special guest, I think we should face it, that the real job of everybody in this room and the whole job of the Space Foundation is to bring excitement into space. But we have with us tonight someone who has brought more excitement into space than all of us put together. come on out. Come on out.
Well, my goodness, what an exciting night already.
And for us, we're just so, you know, you got this whole room here full of serious space geeks. I mean, sort of like the fan convention scene in Galaxy Quest. You know? Except that I want you to know that the military uniforms that you see out there are real.
Yes.
Especially General Shelton right there. I also want you to know that you were invited, not just because a certain portion of us have had a crush on you since Alien. Actually, there's some unusual people in the space industry. Some of them have a crush on the alien queen. No, we wanted you here because space exploration requires a combination of science and imagination. And as an actor, you've stimulated people's imagination about space. You've been quoted, I hope this is accurate, as calling yourself a serious science junkie. Is that right? Say serious science junkie. Not easy to say. And so I thought we'd just start off by asking, did your science fiction movie role, did that stimulate your interest in science, or was it the other way around, or are the two unrelated? Or?
I actually think, well, first I just want to say how thrilled I am to be here at your Space Oscars, which are much more exciting than ours. And I congratulate all the winners, and I congratulate this wonderful organization. But I think I fell in love with science because I'm old enough to have been in the generation of women who were taught, who weren't expected to know much about science. In fact, I think I was maybe a decade or two past when they encouraged girls to climb into trees and get birds' nests and study them and paint them. So I feel I was deprived of science, and I didn't have much ability in what I call the mathy sciences, like physics and chemistry. But I loved space and evolution and all of those things. And so I think it was because I felt deprived of enough access to science that I hunger for it. And I think it's also the reason I became an actor, because I thought there's so many things I'd like to do scientifically, like marine biology, that I know I don't have the math to do, but I could play one. And and every time you play a role, you learn a lot about that subject. So.
There are a few people in this room that probably have, you know, just slipped by on the math. But you've taken this to heart, because you've been prominent in urging more women to study science, and that, of course, is one of our key goals at the Space Foundation. And I have a personal stake in this. I have a 15-year-old daughter, and she's a math and science whiz, and she thinks it's boring. I mean, at the moment, her life's ambition is to start a blog about shopping for shoes, as far as I can tell. You know? And what can we do here?
Well, I do think it's a wonderful challenge for all of us to sustain the kids' interest in science. And I think the space program did that for a whole generation of us, or two, and without that, without us having a space program now in the same way, that has tempered that part of it. But I think that Sally Ride has created this wonderful Sally Ride I think they're both science festivals and science classroom studies, and she also has these great books in which all the sciences, each book is a different science, and it's called Cool Careers, and it interviews 12 men and women who do this particular science in their own way, and that's the kind of book I would have loved to read. I also think that although it's not space, it may have I'm sure it will have the same impact on our medicine and on our thinking about things, but the President's brain mapping project, I think, is something you could get kids really excited about.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to see a brain in one of those jars in a laboratory. So, like the old movies do.
I don't think they're going to put my brain in a jar. No. Maybe for punitive purposes, not to study. Now, movies like Alien and Avatar they're essentially they're myths, but myths of course exist for a social purpose. And I wanted to ask you, can good storytelling, which is what acting is, right? Can good storytelling affect public attitudes about issues such as space exploration, the environment, maybe affect them in a way that political arguments and scientific debates do not?
I think we definitely can take a lot of people into space without the inconvenience of actual space travel. And I think that what was exciting about Alien was, I think it was the first movie in which space, traveling through space, working in space, it was all part of the Earth's natural world. So we expanded our imagination of future life into a really gritty, everyday, working man's sort of world. And I thought that was very innovative. And then with Avatar, of course, I don't think Jim Cameron or any of us realized the impact it would have worldwide, because it touched on, frankly, the Earth as a doomed planet. I play a scientist, Grace Augustine, who can't study botany on Earth anymore, and that's why she comes to Pandora.
Because there's no botany left.
There's nothing left to study. And I think that people are concerned about our planet, want to do more, and that message, I think, is why he's continuing to do, I think, 2 sequels and a prequel, is that he really wants to build on that. So I think we do capture people and their imagination, and their emotions really come into play, their wonder, their hope, their fear, and it is certainly divorced from the political arena, and I think that's a very helpful and hopeful thing.
Yeah, the Alien was, quite aside from the alien and all the exciting things that happened, it was a gritty working class existence. It did not romanticize space travel. These were ordinary, blue collar almost, really workers.
Absolutely.
In a work environment. Now, Gorillas in the Mist is another kind of storytelling, and I wondered that after you immersed yourself in the character of Diane Fossey, a complex character, I gather, did you come away feeling that movie taught us any lessons about science?
Well, it certainly taught me some lessons about how to view conservation. I mean, Diane Fossey believed so passionately in the survival of the mountain gorillas. I think it was more important to her than the survival of the surrounding people.
Yes.
And when I work for the Diane Fossey Gorilla Fund, we have made the people a priority, treating their parasites and educating them and making them responsible for the gorillas, and our numbers are way up. But what was fascinating about Diane, because, I had dogs, I had cats, I liked animals, but when I was researching Diane, I went to see the writer Farley Mowat up in Canada. He was writing a biography of Diane. He was writing it for Warner Books, and I was making a Warner's movie, but I was not allowed to look at his manuscript. But he discreetly left a piece of paper on the table for me and went out of the room, and so I picked it up, and it was this very passionate letter from Diane to a friend of hers who was named Cindy. And it talked about how Diane had known Cindy's parents and how strong and courageous they were, and that Cindy was absolutely their offspring. And I continued to read, and about halfway down the page it said, "You and I decided a long time ago never to cry in front of each other." And then by the last paragraph, I realized that Cindy was Diane's dog who had died. And I suddenly realized that for Diane, she really believed in the equality of all species, and she resented very much mankind's assumption that we were the most important ones and that our interests came first, at the expense of all these other species. And it made it much easier for me to play someone as single-minded as Diane.
You know, my dogs have the same resentment. But she obviously was a complex one. And of course, I think it brings up the point that science is dependent upon complex people.
Yeah.
We often think of scientists as being, just doing crazy things in their white lab coat, but they have an inner life too.
Yes, I'm sure.
For good or for ill, depending on the scientist. Now, obviously here we love space, but it would be hard for us to leave Earth if there weren't any Earth left to leave. So we love Earth too, and I think Avatar in particular seems to make the connection that space exploration and environmentalism they're not separate concerns.
No, and I think it shows, as much as we want to support the economy and employment, et cetera, I think that Jim Cameron really wanted to show in a very powerful way the impact that a greedy corporation can have on a paradise. So I think that it's supposed to also be about Earth, and it's so I think that's I think it's one of the reasons he wants to continue the saga.
I was surprised to find out, I didn't realize this, that something like 80% of all the environmental data that we have comes from space assets. Things we wouldn't know if we didn't have the right kind of satellites with the right kind of sensors up there orbiting around. Now, you're a serious advocate for environmental concerns, and I want to take a moment here to suggest that all of you Google acid test, which is the global challenge of ocean acidification, and the Defending the Rivers of the Amazon, both of which were narrated by you. And but I also want to ask you not to do that right now on your smartphones. There are some among our techies, there are some rather literal-minded people, so right. you have to tell them that. But you did more than just narrate these things. This is.
I did. I went down with Jim Cameron and a few other people to the Amazon. He felt it was that what was happening in the Amazon was the closest thing to what he'd written about in Avatar. There is a plan to build 60 dams along the Amazon and its tributaries by all the surrounding countries. And that would, of course, be a disaster in so many ways. It would displace so many people who've been living there for hundreds of years and change their way of life. It would also flood because the Amazon is not a good, it's not really a good river to dam because its level rises up and down so much during the year that for 5 months of the year you wouldn't be able to use any energy at all. And of course, Brazil was at the forefront of finding and encouraging biofuel and alternative energy, and they must be so able to have solar energy there.
Sun shines all the time,
yes,
pretty much. Yeah.
And so we went down there and we visited with the Kayapo Indians, and they had a lot of other chiefs come, and we just heard them talk with a translator about their concerns. One of the biggest environmental concerns was that because of the damming of the water would kill so much of the forest, and the trees would die and fall into the water, and a lot of methane would escape into the atmosphere. And methane is, I can't remember how many times worse, for at least 3 times worse than carbon dioxide.
It smells worse,
yes,
too.
Yes, it smells worse. And it's so unnecessary.
Yeah.
We had an amazing time there, and we're still, I think a lot of people are still trying to stop Belamonte, since it won't be an effective source of energy, and it will do so much harm.
Right, and this isn't a river that just sort of runs downhill quickly and gets it all over with. I mean, this spreads out over more than half of the continent of South America, and its drop rate is very slow.
Yeah.
In fact, you really, sometimes standing at the river, you can't tell which direction it's running. I mean, it seems more lake or inland sea than...
I must say I did not stand in the river.
Didn't you?
Well, I was worried about those little...
The piranhas?
Not those, the other ones that...
Oh, yeah, there are some things that can... Well, let's just not go there, but there's some stuff in the water. Let's just say that you keep your underwear on if you're swimming in the Amazon. We're just going to leave it there. We were also discussing it's a bug intensive. If you bugs creep you out, you will not enjoy your vacation in the Amazon. If you like bugs, you found the place to go.
And with the ocean acidification, scientists, I think many used to be relieved, perhaps, that the carbon dioxide caused by using fossil fuels was being absorbed into our vast oceans. And then more recently, they discovered that it was causing that CO2 and seawater form this carbonic acid, which reduces the amount of carbonate that's available to shelled creatures to help them make shells. And so there's certain areas where the acidity has already caused a huge falling off of life. What happens is they have to spend so much energy building these shells, because they don't have the proper building blocks, that they can't eat enough and they can't reproduce enough. And there's some areas where they predict that it will be over 40, it's already 40% more since industrialization, but they predict that it will be as high as 80% sometime. Even now, they suspect that the upswelling off the west coast from the very deep cold water is even more acidic. And that's why we don't have the oyster beds off the west coast anymore. And unfortunately, it's just going to increase unless we take innovative steps to curb our...
Yeah, this is I mean, the good news here is that oysters will be much easier to open because their shells will be so fragile.
They'll be much smaller.
Bad news, there won't be any oysters. So it's really not a good news, bad news. It's just all bad news on that. But it's a fantastic piece of work, you know.
Yes.
And I hope, you know, that it has some effect. Now, I would like to get your reaction to this quote from one of the many, many people at the Space Foundation who's a lot smarter than I am. And he says, it is as silly to pretend that our environment stops when we get to the top of the atmosphere as it is to think that an ecosystem stops at a political boundary. The Earth moves through space like a person moves through an environment. I mean, pretending that space doesn't affect us is, he says, dangerous pre-scientific nonsense. Does that resonate?
Yes, I think it does. And I think one of the joys of seeing all these beautiful pictures is having that frontier extended out into space. It's very exciting. And I think it will help us understand our planet better, because I think it wasn't until the moon landing when the astronauts looked back and saw the Earth blue and green and so beautiful, so wondrous, so uniquely hospitable to our species, all of us, and also so fragile. And now we know our resources are finite, and that we must do more to conserve these treasures that we have on Earth. But it's so fascinating to watch tonight how much of the innovation has come from space exploration. And I really think that if it were, maybe a government can't afford it, but I also think if you could put it on the ballot and say to each voter, would you be willing to give $10 to create a space program? I bet a lot of people would vote for it, and then we'd have some money.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a fabulous idea. And I know right where it can go, actually where it could go on the tax return, and where that little thing where you could check off whether you wanted to donate to a candidate, which I always say, can I subtract from a candidate? You know? Can I subtract from both of them or all of them? That would be a perfect slot. You know, the slot is right there.
That's a great time to do it.
Yeah, right there and this very month. We were talking earlier about that, you know, how amazing it must be, not to the older people in the audience, but to the younger people in the audience, that we can easily remember, I mean, we were virtually adult, and there was no picture of the Earth. We had never seen a picture of the Earth. You couldn't get far enough away from the Earth to take a picture of the Earth. And how that was, many people feel that was sort of a tipping moment for the environmentalist and ecological movements, was the sight of this wonderful looking thing. Sort of looked like the grandma's precious Christmas tree ornament that you knew you were going to break, you know, and that one, you know, and to see that, how powerful that was, to see that picture.
And we get many more views of it now from satellites and launches, and it never loses its thrill.
Never loses its charm, you know. Now, along those lines, is there something that you personally would like to see the world space programs, be they governmental or private, see them doing more of?
Well, I think it's very exciting how much private space programming is going on. I think that it's awesome, and I think, you know, just getting that information to kids in the classroom will do a lot. It should be a priority in every school. But I guess I'm so thrilled and astonished by our ability, with all our brilliant minds, particularly in this room, to develop technologies that make such a difference in so many areas. And I just wish we could have the same passion and you know, desire to find innovations to help now curb global warming, because I think that we're reaching a point where it will just get more and more difficult to put the Earth back in balance, and it's expressing itself in so many different ways. We've had, you know, such extreme weather all over. I'm in a play on Broadway now, which has a whole long section on climate change and this extreme weather that the playwright has been through in Pennsylvania over the last few years. And it's very, very funny, but it's also terrifying. And so I would hope to encourage some of the great minds here to go to work trying to help our planet deal with the stresses we've put it under. There's so many different ways, the oceans, the habitat. There's so many different ways in which the Earth needs our help, and I think that's equally exciting, that we have a chance to pay back to the planet Earth, this miraculous place where we all live. And I think even if we go to Mars, which I'd love to do, we'll never find any place as miraculous as this planet. And just to use it up and then just move on, I think would be...
Assuming we could move on.
Yes.
This is a fairly large assumption.
If we have time.
Yeah.
I think that things are going to happen more quickly than people expect, and not for the good, and helping with poverty too, because I think so many of these things can bring people up and give them a better life, and help us provide them with energy.
Well, to solve problems, we need information, and the information that we need about these problems is best gotten up there, I think is the, now, as to your play, I don't want to forget to plug your play.
Okay, thank you.
Now, let me make sure I'm getting this right, though. It's not an easy title. It's Christopher Drang,
yep,
with whom you went to school, right?
I did.
Yeah. And am I getting this right? It's Vanya and Sonia and Marcia and Spike?
It's Vanya and Sonia and Masha and
Masha.
Spike. I say that because I play Masha.
I'm sorry. I got that right. And it's modern-day Chekhov with a happy ending was how it was explained to me.
Yes, there's a lot of longing and regret and
that's the Chekhov
bipolar
part.
Behavior,
yeah,
and then it all works out.
That's the American part.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, that's what a Chekhov expert from Moscow came to see it, and she said, actually, she said it wasn't a happy ending.
Oh, she said it was not by Russian standards.
She has a bleak outlook.
Yes, they do. They do indeed. So, we were just talking about.
Come and see. If you come to New York before June 30th, it's at the Golden Theater, and we'd love to have you come, and it's a great, great time. All age ranges are coming to see it, and everyone seems to love it, which is nice. So.
There you have it. We really almost answered this next thing I was going to ask you, which was that since you, as an actor, have done such a great job of showing us the rigors of space exploration, we're hoping not all of them will turn up.
Yes, I can understand that.
But how do you feel about manned, I should say womaned space missions? Do you think that's something we should?
Well, those are some of my favorite movies, seeing people crumble, different individuals, or go mad and things like that. So I'm not sure I have enough of the correct information. I must say the idea of a husband and wife going into the space I thought was very amusing. I mean, my husband and I adore each other, but I can't imagine us in something the size of the,
No, I myself am happily married, and I think that would put an end
the
to
end
it.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's terrific, and I think we should try everything. I'm sure we're writer and actor, we're probably, too crazy to go and do that.
Maybe, but we've got astronauts out here, and maybe they can tell us, after is there a cocktail hour in space? Is that would ease the tension?
I think it's 24 hours.
Always sunrise somewhere. Now this is a question that the Space Foundation board demanded that I ask you.
Okay.
They said you cannot
Does
go
it
up
involve
there.
math?
No, it does not. No, they wouldn't ask me to even, anything about math, even to ask a question about it. They know that somebody has to take a shoe off to count to 11. do you believe there's life in outer space? I mean, I know it didn't work out all that well for your character, but I mean, might be other kinds of life out there. I mean,
I really do. I feel that it's impossible for, with this huge, unending universe, that there aren't other species living. We just need to find them. And periodically, when I notice that there's so much dysfunction in DC, I think we should stage an invasion. Some studio should stage an invasion with aliens, and they should land, you know, on the mall in Washington. And then, believe me, anyone who has one head, 2 arms, 2 legs, and no tail is your brother, you know?
There is. We might elect them, you know. So
they will
I see a
certainly have a
danger
different
there.
perspective.
But you know, but I also see hope. So I think that's now this is way off the subject of anything, but this is something I wanted to ask, because since I was like in the late 60s, 70s, I came in the early 70s, I had always been a huge fan of the Swiss surrealist H.R. Giger. You told me today it's Giger. I thought it was, all this time I thought it was Geiger. He's the guy who created the biomechanical alien.
Well, he created the designs for the world of that first alien, the crashed spaceship. The spaceship.
Yeah.
And he created the eggs, which when I first saw pictures of them, they all had little faces like Humpty Dumpty, which was really eerie. And it was Carlo Ramboldi, an Italian designer, who actually created the creature. Yeah.
Because the creature seems sort of a piece with Giger's, you know, he has this whole, I don't know how many of you are familiar with his work, but he's very dark sort of combination of the surrealist combination of the mechanical and the biological. And
yes, well, he's a very interesting fellow, only wears black, is always giggling about horrible things, and could not be more charming.
Oh, you were talking about, was it his house in Switzerland?
Yes. He has a bed. I think he has many artifacts like this, but his bed he was very proud of. Between giggling, he would describe it, you know, different things in his house, and one of them was this bed that's lit from below, and it has, in the 4 corners, underneath the mattress, there is a skull of a different creature. And I think one of them is his late wife or something. But,
ooh.
But he said it, he did it with great love. I mean, you have to know this man. Wanted to be near her. But anyway, he loves skeletons, and he loves gore, and he loves, you know.
Late wife, that's harsh. Ex-wife?
No, it wasn't. I was careful not to say ex-wife.
Might be just me. No, yeah, let's, you know, keep all that out of public. Another cause that you've worked for and worked hard is Trickle Up. And I don't know, again, how many of you know about this. This is a micro enterprise project offering grants to help the poorest of the world's poor start their own businesses and their own enterprises. And now this might not seem to you to be connected to space exploration, but I think that it is. Our space programs, especially at the governmental level, we're continually being told, this is too expensive. It's too expensive. Earth is full of poor people. We can't afford to spend money on space. Now, we in this room, we of course feel that we can't afford not to spend money on space. But, I mean, one answer to that, this is too expensive argument, is certainly to make poor people less poor. You know, if people aren't as poor, then, you know, it's harder to tell us that what we want to do is too expensive. So I was just wanted to ask if you could tell us a little bit about Trickle.
Well, I think they're a very special organization because they actually give seed money instead of loaning it. They give seed money to people focusing primarily on women and people with handicaps or different problems. These are actually 80% of the world's poor, these two groups. And so they prioritized supporting these groups, and they not only give the money to start a micro business, but they give them courses in how to run a business, how to keep records, how to balance their books, and then how to kind of reach out and network with each other. And it's been, I think, a very successful approach. And
where is this mostly concentrated? What
I think it's
around?
India and Africa.
India and Africa.
Maybe in South America too by now.
Talking about there's an immense number of people. I forget the number, but it is like 1.5 billion or 2 billion people that are living on under $1.25 a day.
Yeah.
So this is addressed to that.
Yeah. And as you said today, we've now learned that if women can make some money, they give their children more education, they give them better food, better medical care. It is the sort of the turning point in a family's life to give that woman the chance to have a better life. Really.
A number of people in Washington think tanks have told me about this, is that the single best indicator for a society making progress of every kind, everything from longevity, to economic growth, to political peace, single most important indicator is education in women. And we really don't know what the mechanics of that are. We don't know why that is true, but we can show that the two things correspond. And there, let's have more of it. Which brings me to this. You have played Cassandra-like roles a number of times. The prophet whom no one believes. In Aliens, Gorillas in the Mist, Avatar. Not to be sort of a bummer about this, but we need some Cassandra here. I mean, we feel, I think I can speak for everyone in this room, we feel that if space exploration isn't vigorously led and funded, that enormous scientific knowledge and progress will be sacrificed. And we also feel that some folks are not listening. I will not mention the U.S. government by name. So, if you have any Cassandra pronouncements, we promise not to treat you like the ancient Trojans did.
And not listen.
We'll listen, yeah.
Well, I agree with you. I think that I feel very strongly that that's absolutely true. And I guess my Cassandra fear, which I've certainly touched on already, is that in our desire to go forward in space, that the Earth's very urgent concerns, which are, I think, accelerating more than people realized, that the Earth will not get that kind of focus and innovative resolve, partially because a lot of people, regular people, sort of go, well, what are you going to do? Now we're going to have lots of hurricanes, or, they just feel a little hopeless about it. And in fact, this kind of event where you see all the good that's being done, so much that's exciting, so much that's now commonplace now in our world, and that it came from space. And I think if space exploration and just curbing fossil fuels alone, becoming more sustainable, if some of this innovative brilliance and energy could go toward that, then we will be able to use Earth to go out from for a much longer time.
I think you've got a group of people who are listening here. I mean, it's sort of our unspoken motto is it's not just Tang, There's other stuff that we do, and much of it's very important to the future of the world.
Yes.
Is there something we haven't covered?
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure for me to speak to you and to be here tonight. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Okay, let's give this back to Ellen.
All right.
Thanks, Sigourney. What a great lady to have the chance to meet, and how fortunate we are to have a guy like PJ to help us with that. This has been a great week. This has been a great night. I want to thank SpaceX again. As soon as we adjourn, you can then break into your rocket kits and perhaps go out to the lake and do whatever you feel you need to do. I would like to recognize just a few more people before we adjourn. We have on our team only 50 people, and putting on an event like this with 50 people is not a possibility. We are blessed to have over 350 volunteers this year. They come from Peterson Air Force Base, they come from Fort Carson, they come from Colorado Springs. Let's hear it for our volunteers. Thank you. This has been an amazingly challenged year, and I have a team that I am so proud of I could just burst. So many of you have had so many kind words for us this week, and I can't tell you how much it means to me that you recognize them. Could our team members please stand and be recognized and thanks for all you do? Space Foundation team. We have one team member in particular that I want to single out tonight, and I don't normally do this. But we have been blessed at the Space Foundation for the past 27 years to have a guy who has done whatever it has taken, whenever it was needed, whether it was rummaging in the old days for furniture in the alley, whether it was getting in the car and driving somebody to Denver, whatever the job took. And this guy has been the heart and soul of this foundation for 27 years, and this is his last space symposium. He's going to be retiring, and we're going to miss him a lot, and I know you will too. Would you please join me in thanking Chuck Zimkus for his service? I know that Chuck would tell you that it's not about me, it's not about him, it's about the future. Space is about the future, it's about what we can do for humanity, it's about all the things that PJ and Courtney were talking about. It's about us making the world a better place. And it is such an honor for us to be here with all of you every year and throughout the year around the country and around the world to work on those things. So I thank you for being here this year, especially this year. It's so important, and I'd like to leave you with just a little look at the week behind us, and to thank all of you and ask you to all think about the week ahead of us when we reconvene the 30th Space Symposium.
Supplies are running out. Allow if you're still alive.
go for the moon.
Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on, go play. Hey now, you're a rock star. Get the show on,